Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about the finale of Daredevil Born Again. It is coming out tomorrow, and I have a lot of final predictions, final guesses that I want to make about the show. I also just kind of want to go back and talk about my feelings over the last 4 or 5 episodes because I have accidentally missed the last couple of episodes of Marvel Monday. Okay, so right off the bat, I do want to go ahead and say there's been a lot of things that have been going on in this season that I feel like they have just kind of been really quickly brushing past. I don't know if I'm the only person who has this problem with Daredevil Born Again, but I feel like Daredevil Born Again has had like some of the worst pacing, I think, out of any of the Marvel Disney Plus shows, and maybe I am completely incorrect about that, but there's been some episodes where it's like this episode to that episode, it's like a 2-day gap, and then there'll be like a 3-week gap in between a couple of episodes, and then there'll be another episode where it's like it takes place over the time span of just one night. And I don't know if I'm the only person who's been dealing with this issue, but like, if we go back to the beginning, right, we have our episode 1. Obviously, they have a giant time gap there that's like absolutely massive. They have a whole lot of different things going on there. And then episode 2, episode 3, episode 4, feels like each of them are about like 2 or 3 weeks apart. And then we have a jump ahead another week or so to the St. Patrick's Day episode, episode 5. That's the standalone bottle episode where he deals with the bank heist that's going on. And then we skip another week or so, might have been actually 2 weeks, and then we get to deal with the stuff with Muse finally becoming more of a big deal, and the fact that it gets revealed that he's killed over 60 people, which, by the way, absolutely insane, the fact that we just kind of brushed past that. And then especially everything they did with Muse felt incredibly rushed, but that's not even one of the main things I wanted to touch on. I'm still just talking about the fact that we've had so many episodes take place over so much different periods of time, and then the last episode all took place over the course span of one day, where Poindexter gets moved into a different prison. He wants to meet up with Matt. Matt and Heather are having their weird argument that they're having because they are just really not a good couple, and I like it. I want to go ahead and say this. A lot of people keep hating on Heather and keep talking about how she's such like a terrible character, and a lot of people are like ripping on this show because of the way that Heather is interacting. Yes, I don't like Heather. Yes, I don't think that her and Matt are a good couple, but I think that that's an interesting thing for the show to do because it gives us something that I think a lot of people aren't understanding, which is this is one of the most different relationships we've seen with Matt, because when he's with Elektra, she embraces the fact that he's Daredevil. When he's with Claire 100% doesn't really stop him from the fact that he's doing Daredevil stuff. Like, she does occasionally be like, oh my god, but I don't want the guy that I like going out fighting crime. But she ultimately stitches him back together and is constantly doing things to really help him out. And I think that that's a big part of Matt's life in the past couple of seasons of the show, which is that he's constantly dating girls, and for the most part, they don't really care that he has this darker side to him. And I think that the fact that he's finally having somebody who's just like, she hates vigilantes to death, and when Matt finally comes clean and is like, by the way, I'm Daredevil, she's going to hate it, and she's going to resent him for that. And I think that that is really interesting. I think that is very unique for a character to do that. And I also just think that the fact that he's, you know, constantly getting into fights, he's constantly getting bruises, he's constantly getting marked up, and then he goes to Heather, and Heather doesn't really know what's going on with him. It makes sense that she's getting more and more fed up because, like, as somebody who is a therapist, she's probably thinking, like, there's so much things I could be doing to help you right now, but you're not letting me help you. And the fact that he's constantly disappearing, the fact that you know, she was in danger from Muse, and he's so hung up on the fact that, like, Daredevil was there and Daredevil was trying to save her, instead of being like, oh my god, yeah, I'm sorry that that sick serial killer was trying to murder you. I just think that the fact that she's being a foil to him is actually really interesting. I like the fact that his significant other, for once, isn't just being on his side and is actually, like, questioning his morals a little bit more, because in this season, we haven't touched on his religious side at all. So the fact that we're kind of getting it a little bit with Heather being somebody who can kind of, like, question his morals while he's still going out there and being Daredevil, I think it's really interesting. In this last episode, obviously I want to talk about the cliffhanger. He jumped in front of a bullet for Wilson Fisk. A lot of people are thinking that he had to have some kind of ulterior motive for that. I do want to just say, I think that he's just a hero, and it is in his nature. I think that he thinks he is invincible, and the way that he quickly dives and jumps in front of that bullet, I think that his thought process was just, I need to save somebody's life. And I also think this is a great way to kind of get the upper hand on Wilson Fisk, because Wilson Fisk can't openly be like, oh my god, that's Daredevil now, because if he does, it's going to look really bad on Wilson Fisk because he's trying to get rid of these vigilantes and he just got saved by a vigilante. And I think on top of that, outing him as Daredevil now just kind of goes to show like how much of a hero he is. I think that it would completely crumble every plan that he currently has that's against vigilantes, what Wilson Fisk has going on. So I think that that's interesting. I really like that. I think that that's a really cool, unique thing that's happening. But it does kind of bring up a really interesting thing, which is that if the next episode of Daredevil Born Again, right, like the finale, takes place shortly after this episode, which I would imagine it would pick up right where things left off, is Matt going to be able to even be Daredevil in this final episode? Like, is this going to be a big deal where, like, because Matt can't fight, he obviously has to get the Punisher's help, and then the Punisher obviously is going to do things his own way? This is really unique. I'm really intrigued to see how they do this last episode, because it's one of the first times in a Marvel TV show where I genuinely have no idea where this last episode is going to go. Like, I think that in the past, like with Loki, the last episode of season 1 and the last episode of season 2, you could kind of have a guess as to what's going to happen with them. In Moon Knight, for the most part, you can have a general idea of what's going to happen in that last episode. Miss Marvel, you can have a good idea of what's going to happen in that last episode. And so, going into Daredevil Born Again, he just got shot. It is really interesting because, like, you could play it interesting here and kind of skip forward about a month or maybe like a couple weeks later, but do you want to, once again, have a weird time gap because the show has been having a lot of really weird pacing? I don't know. I think it is really weird. Another thing with the pacing that's really kind of upsetting me, we're finally getting somewhere interesting with BB Urick's storyline here, and it's so late in the season that I really don't think we're going to see anything come to fruition with it in this season, which is a little painful. We're going to have to wait a year to see a lot of these really cool storylines end, and I think that that really sucks. Same thing with like a lot of the stuff that's been going on between like Wilson and Vanessa, and they've been having a lot of conflict here and there, and I think that in a perfect world, we potentially would have been able to see a payoff to all of the meddling that Vanessa's been doing in this season, but I feel like nothing on like the crime family side of things is going to get answered. I don't think we're ever going to see a reaction to the fact that, man, I can't even remember the name of the guy, but the Italian family member who was being a dick towards Wilson Fisk, who died in one of the last episodes. We don't see any aftermath of that, and we're not going to. And I think that that's just like a big problem with this show right now, is going into this last episode, there's probably about like 30 unanswered questions. And I know that that's probably a big exaggeration, but it does genuinely kind of feel like it. For one, where is Karen? I imagine she's going to show up in this because set photos of season 2 have kind of been leaked already, and like she is 100% going to be in it. What's going on with Poindexter? Did he get away from that crime scene during that last episode? I would imagine he does, because he's Poindexter. He could definitely fight off a couple of guards, but he seemed so thrown off by the fact that he shot the wrong person that there's a decent chance that in the quick like moment where he's stunned, somebody was able to comprehend him. I don't entirely know what's going on with the task force. Are they going to get killed off, murked, disbanded before the end of this season? I'm kind of hoping so. I've heard rumors that there's going to be a really huge Punisher scene and he's going to go absolutely crazy, so I'm hoping it is him killing all of the crooked cops. I think that that would be a really great way to kind of end this season. Couple of other things, like, I don't think they're going to resolve it, but like, isn't there still stuff with Matt's mom from season 3 that is kind of like, why has she not been mentioned or brought up? We don't entirely know. Matt still has not stepped foot in a church. I was kind of expecting that to be something that would happen at some point in this season. The person who killed White Tiger, nothing has happened with that. The niece of White Tiger, is she going to put on the amulet? Is she going to suit up, eventually become a vigilante? Once again, we don't know anything about that. Whether or not Daredevil interacts with Kamala Khan, I don't expect that to happen, but it is kind of interesting that they almost set it up like there's going to be like another like family cookout, kind of like the end credit scene of She-Hulk, where he's at the cookout with Jen and all of them. If they were to do something like that with the Kamala Khan family, I think that that would be really cool. Wilson Fisk, is he going to go full Wilson Fisk? Is he going to go all Kingpin? Is he going to go crazy? He's manipulating a bunch of rich people at this banquet. Are we going to see any of the payoffs for that? There's just so much payoff right now that I don't see the majority of it getting paid off. and it is absolutely driving me insane. And then another thing is like some small stuff with the characters like the swordsman. At no point did we ever actually get to see him be the swordsman. That's, you know, I think that it's fun that they're just like throwing in these cameos, but at the same time, if you're going to throw in a cameo, maybe do something with it, maybe flesh it out. I don't know. I just feel like we never got to see an action sequence with the White Tiger, and I'm kind of upset about that. We never got to see really action sequences with the swordsman, which I don't even want, but the fact that they're kind of like waving it in our face makes it where it's like, I kind of wish you would have done something with that. And I don't know. I feel like maybe I'm just being like really like needy here and kind of being like, oh my god, Marvel, give us more. But at the same time, none of the side characters have had any interesting plots. They basically threw away Muse after 2 episodes. And there's just been like so much underdeveloped characters and storylines throughout this entire show. I'm loving, what's his name, Daniel Blake, the like weird little like teenage, I don't even know how old he's supposed to be. I'm assuming he's supposed to be like 23 or something, but the young guy who's just like absolutely obsessed with Wilson Fisk, and he's like, I'll do anything for you. I'll be your guy. I will, you know, I did ketamine that one time, whatever. And he's just being like his lackey or whatever, but like they're not doing anything to like build up that character or anything. I think that is weird that he hasn't had much to do at all here, except for he's absolutely going to give BB Uric. I'm expecting he's going to give BB some information that he absolutely should not give BB. BB's going to finally make a report on it, and Wilson Fisk is going to kill him. But, like, they haven't done anything to make him more of a likable character, that it's like, when that happens, it's going to be like, oh, well, I guess that's the thing that happened. And that sucks. And I think that that's kind of, like, where I'm at right now with this show. I think that after the trial of Hector Ayala, nothing that they've done has been really interesting or captivating. And it does kind of suck that I think after episode 4, there's like a good 3-episode run where like nothing was that interesting or worth watching. And that kills me because like it is a really entertaining show, but also Daredevil hasn't done a whole lot of daredeviling in this. And now he's shot and he might potentially be disabled. It's just, I don't know. That being said, that was a lot of concerns. I think that was a lot of negatives, which is weird because I do really like this show. I like a lot of the things that they've done with it. It's just, I'm really nervous about how they're going to stick this landing because it seems to be one of the hardest landings that Disney is going to have to land. And as far as I'm concerned, Disney Plus has kind of botched the last episode of the majority of their shows. So, that being said, I just kind of wanted to come on here, give some of my like concerns before the finale of Daredevil Born Again. And then whenever Daredevil Born Again's final episode does come out, I'm going to give a proper final review, and I'm going to see if maybe that last episode can kind of salvage my issues that I'm having with the show. But that being said, that's it for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming by and checking it out. I love and appreciate you guys so much for watching. And if you liked it, feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll hopefully see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Bow, bow, bow.